IFA is the only international organization that brings together people from all different facets of the international tax world. And it's amazing the mix of conversations, relationships that emerge when you get together with all the different elements of the international tax community.
We have judges, we have academics, we have practitioners, we have government officials. All of us look at taxation in a different way. And so we need to interact one with the others. We need to meet, we need to discuss, we need to analyze rules, and we need to be informed.
IFA was founded in 1938, February of 1938. Obviously, that was not an auspicious time. And so IFA took a hiatus during World War II, but right after the war, in 1946, 1947, IFA came back together and has been very active since that time with annual congresses and regional meetings. And so it now has an 80-year history of pulling together the top international tax professionals from literally all over the world and looking at the issues that are of common interest to us all.
We started in 1938, and in those years, the reason for an association were partially different. Taxation started to be cross-border, and so that was probably the main reason for setting up the association. Flow of information was limited. We had no internet, we had no emails. And so, as you may imagine, there was much of a need for having interaction and disseminating information.
So much of what international tax professionals do is driven by the issues of the moment. What's going on right now? What's the concern for my clients right now? What is the bill, the legislation, the crisis of the moment? One of the many benefits of IFA is that we try to look down the line, around corners, to look at the issues that will be most important to the international tax community 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. We don't always get it right, but it's amazing how often we do get it right.
We also want to improve the tax environment. We want to have a better tax environment, and that may be a result which may be achieved only if all the constituencies of taxation talk each other, understand each other, and in their respective areas they can improve the quality of taxation, either when rules are written and drafted, or when rules are interpreted by judges, or when advisors are providing advice, or when scholars are writing tax papers. That is the main focus of our organization.
IFA also has extremely valuable cooperative relationships with the OECD, with the United Nations, and that's important because the OECD obviously generates a lot of proposals in the international tax world, and IFA needs input from the OECD, but also needs to provide input to the OECD. We don't lobby. And it's very important to emphasize that IFA's role is not to lobby. We try to understand rules that are in development. We try to explore what rules might be needed in the future, how to administer those rules, but we don't lobby. And both the United Nations and the OECD appreciate that point, that we're not there to advocate for a particular position, but rather to work cooperatively with the United Nations and the OECD.
Taxation is local, but is international as well. So we need to know local rules, but also to have some knowledge of rules in other countries.
IFA works on many different levels, and that's an important point to make. In the larger countries like the United States, but in other countries as well, we'll often have branches within a single city. So you get to know the other international tax professionals in your geographical region. And then, of course, IFA works very actively at the country level. We have more than 70 country branches that bring together the tax professionals within that country.
We understand that regions may have special interest, and they may like to discuss tax issues between themselves. They may like to interact between themselves, and for that reason we have set up 5 regions of International Fiscal Association, and they do have their regional events every year.
So the way IFA works is really from the ground up. Local branches, country branches, we have 5 regions, and then at the international level, when we have an annual Congress that brings together anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people on a global basis once a year. Well, the annual Congress is an extremely exciting event each year. It runs from Sunday to Thursday. We have a Sunday gathering. We then have scientific sessions on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but also plenty of time for socializing. So there's usually a museum night, a cultural night, a gala to close the Congress on Thursday evenings. And it's a fabulous opportunity to meet the international tax professionals from literally all over the world.
I recall when I started myself, which was many years ago, and I was a young practitioner-academic, and that was a unique opportunity for me to meet people who were not in the same activity in the tax field. They were not practitioners, they were judges or academics, and that networking contributed to my own career.
So IFA's Congress is the glue once a year to pull us all together, give us a chance to see each other as friends, to see each other as professional colleagues, and build a foundation that serves us and serves our clients during the 360 days between Congresses.
Over the years, we also realized that some of us required more attention, and young members of our association indeed require more attention, and indeed we have set up a special group and we devote special attention to the Young IFA Network. That is the program that we have set up several years ago and which proves to be very successful. They do organize their own events either locally or at the annual Congress.
Members of IFA who are 40 and under participate in our yen programs. And what I know, because we've already begun to see it, is that people create relationships at yen, the Young IFA Network, and I know those relationships will extend for literally decades. That people you've met at yen will be your peers, your colleagues for the next 30 years.
We also pay a lot of attention to diversity, and so we have special events organized for women, and that event developed so well over the years that we have created a Women IFA Network.
The Women of IFA Network is a very important part of who we are. Again, emphasizing that diversity matters. The international tax community actually has an enormous number of women. There are some countries, I'll mention Singapore, where women make up far, far more than 50% of all of the tax professionals. We need to emphasize that point, and in particular, give members of WIN, as we do with members of YIN, an opportunity to speak on panels, to make themselves known and more visible.
And that, we believe, is one of the areas to develop even more in order to have diversity become one of our main elements of focus. I became member of IFA at the age of 27, and both years at the beginning of my career were very important in terms of interaction with other tax people. And still, many of my contacts are drawn from the IFA network, as I call it.
So you ask, what are the benefits of membership? It's the ability to network with your colleagues, meet face-to-face with government tax officials, tax judges, academics, other practitioners who may have clients with issues similar to yours. And to do that at the local level, to do that at the country level, to do that at the regional level, and to do that at the international level. And I don't see how any international tax professional can really serve their client unless they have relationships, they have knowledge of what's really going on in other jurisdictions where their clients are working.
Taxation has become global. There is a need to know the rules, to interact with people, not only locally, and therefore, for that reason, it's important to be part of a large organization which is very close to our members through the year, serving, providing information, making networking easier for everyone.
You don't want to simply be sitting behind your desk, a computer, and a book. It's fun to get to know people, to know who they are, what their likes are, what their interests are, what their culture is, how their tax rules work. And IFA is the place to do that. So to me, it is both productive for your career, but also it's the spice that makes our careers worthwhile.
In a nutshell, a global organization for a global tax world.